The top two individuals in this race are Mamdani and Cuomo. So the gloves really...
Oh, no, man. After last night's performance, maybe the top two are actually Mamdani and Sliwa.
He was given an opportunity in a show to just condemn Hamas and go after it. And then 2 days later, he all of a sudden gets an answer for it.
And he said that Israel shouldn't be a Jewish state.
Right.
He said that in the past.
But do you understand?
I can't believe it. I can't believe it. He says Israel shouldn't be a Jewish state. He's against ethno-states. Can you believe it? We here at the Fox News broadcast obviously want Israel to be a Jewish ethno-state and want America to be a white ethno-state. That's what we like. We like ethno-states here at Fox News. Can you believe it?
This is the shocking part when it comes to the people that and the candidates that they trust for the best job on cost of living. Mamdani gets it by 49%. Sliwa's at 17%. Cuomo's at 32% on housing. 49% is for Mamdani, 16% for Sliwa, 33% on.
Oof. Mamdani's beating them on crime. Oh, it's so over. Oh, smoke them. Oh, my God.
How crazy is that? That a guy that wants to let criminals out, close Rikers Island, have social workers to domestic disputes, and he gets the best marks on crime.
I'm not a New Yorker, so maybe
you live in New York.
I don't understand. I don't understand the connection. Maybe there's just a different. I get the housing thing because he's talking about affordability and all of this, but the crime thing, saying that you're going to defund.
I think it is nutty. It is totally nutty. The Zoran has basically repackaged defunding the police by being like, we got to take some of the toll off of these wonderful law enforcement officers and focus on areas where crime manifests, improve people's material conditions, and also hire a network of social workers to be tasked with dealing with a lot of these like mental health crises as opposed to cops. And people were like, wow, that's a brilliant idea. I love it. That is a brilliant idea. What a spectacular message. I have never heard this before. Certainly no one has ever brought this up. Is he wrong though? What do you mean? This is the position. This is the left position. Okay. This has been the left position. It turns out just describing the process was so much better. And I will say a big part of the reason why he has been able to do this is because he just says it how it is. And also, Democrats are too weak to launch a significant opposition against one of the only figures in the party right now that is actually motivating people, that is actually making people excited. Message packaging on the left is so ass. Yeah, I think that's part of the problem for sure. That's definitely part of the problem. But make no mistake, Republicans make their messages stick because they have a unified front. The Democrats and their left flank are constantly at odds with one another. They are constantly opposing one another. You see what I mean? And therefore, there is no unified messaging front on issues like this one. Because if Democrats were like, hey guys, we don't mean like literally fire the police or abolish the police. We mean that like cops are busy tackling crimes as they're supposed to be, but unfortunately they can't tackle all the crimes when they're doing like when they're handling domestic disputes, things of that nature. If like establishment Democrats actually described what defund the police meant, I think that there would be a very different approach to it. Now, it's because Democrats at the national level did not want to do any of those things regardless. That's precisely the reason why they were acting scared. They were operating from a scared position. Scared money don't make no money. This was my advocacy throughout the entire duration when we were talking about defund the police during Black Lives Matter. I was so frustrated. I was so goddamn frustrated with the way that Democrats actually instantly locked in on their left flank and were like, we're not like them. We're not like them. They did this with October 7, post-October 7 protesters. They did this with like anti-Semitism on college campuses. They did this with immigration. They do this with everything. The National Democratic Party are seen as insincere, hypocritical, whiny little smug, entitled babies for a reason, for a very good reason, because they are that, because they consistently lean into the most cynical oppositional framing on every single issue. And they hand victory after victory on the messaging front to the Republicans, okay? And this is the product of that. Zoran is not doing that.
I'm not a professional politician because they have helped create this crime crisis in the city that we face.
I would add 5,000 police, put 1,500 in the subways.
Dude, that is such a crazy way to talk about this issue, by the way. No wonder people, I think Zoran's method is actually smarter. Like, we're going to put 1,500 cops in the subway, 5,000 extra police units. Like, by the way, no one ever asks, how are you going to pay for that? When it comes to 5,000 new cops, 5,000 new heads, training, gear, overtime pay, hazard pay, Candy Crush subscription so you can get like tier 3 drops on Candy Crush when you're in the subway station. None of that is ever called into question. People only ask, how are you going to pay for it when it's about fast and free buses? No one ever says, how are we going to pay for 5,000 extra cops? I mean, I guess they technically did ask Andrew Cuomo. He didn't end up answering it, but like, just broadly not a thing. How are we going to pay for it with military expenditures? Never asked at the national level. It's only a question for when politicians accidentally arrive at like a reasonable policy that actually helps working class Americans.
He's delusional. You're going to have mental health experts, counselors, social workers show up to the most dangerous call a cop can get, which is a domestic violence call. So you're going to have people that didn't sign up for that profession have violent attacks against them.
Wait, what?
That is the most. What are you going to put bulletproof?
Dude. Every EMT, first of all, every EMT unironically signs up for that profession. And it's completely unacceptable when violence does take place at times. But like the notion that healthcare professionals and social workers do not realize that there is also potentially a violent altercation that could take place in these calls is ridiculous. It is literally an unfortunate but foreseeable part of this job, okay? It's crazy. It's crazy. Also, an altercation of that sort becoming violent is infinitely more likely if it's a cop that's coming in. Social workers and emergency room nurses oftentimes deal with people experiencing mental health crises with regular they do it all the time. They do it daily. This is their job. And they are able to deal with those incidents without that incident turning into a seriously violent altercation, also with regular fucking frequency, as opposed to the success measure of cops who don't have any tools to deal with someone experiencing a mental health episode and will just take their gun out and shoot people. Police are also an objectively threatening presence. It is the job. It is a part of the requirement. Like, you have to have authority over the person that you're commanding. In many circumstances, that's not the appropriate measure. Saying that social workers and mental health professionals are not trained to deal with these sorts of incidents is like saying firefighters are not tasked with combating fire. It is exactly what they're tasked with dealing with. That is their job. And unlike cops, social workers, and many of them that are in this chat right now, will tell you personally that they are trained to de-escalate. They are trained to de-escalate. Cops, on the other hand, only can escalate. There's no de-escalation.
Just to add to this, one of the other categories is how you going to deal with President Trump. And Governor Cuomo says, look, I've had fights with Trump, before, but I have to work with him. Sliwa says, I don't.
This is such a funny approach that these guys have because they're obviously objectively pro-Trump, but also they have to be pro-Cuomo here. So I wonder what they're going to say. They're going to be like, well, Cuomo and Trump have a better working relationship, I guess. Like, so he'll be better at opposing Trump because they have to farm Cuomo here because they know that he's the only shot that they have of thwarting a Zoran victory that is imminent.
This guy hates Columbus. This guy hates cops. I'd look him square in the eye and say, you want to lead the financial capital of the world? You can't even do math. I'd actually ask him a math equation. I'd say, what's 17 divided by? He couldn't do it. And I just watched the clock tick and sweat. Then I'd say, Who's your favorite player on the Knicks?
I like that he said 17 divided by because it's a prime number, and the worst, like one of the worst, like as it was coming out of his mouth, he realized like, okay, if I actually divide 17 by anything, I'm not going to be able to do it. So we should just move on quickly from this. Because like, what is he going to say? 17 divided by 1? Okay.
Name one player on the Knicks. Just name one player. And then I'd say, who's your favorite pitcher on the Yankees? Ever. You can name any pitcher on the Yankees. Name one.
I think what's funnier about this is that Zoran could answer all of these questions, and I'm not certain Andrew Cuomo would be able to. And the hilarity of this situation is that most voters that watch that debate, that was also their takeaway. That Zoran at least like knows what the he's talking about. Andrew Cuomo is unnecessarily contentious with even simple questions like, what's your name? He's like, I'm sorry, what? What did you ask me? That's what it came across as. And yeah, Zoran is already a Mets fan regardless, even though he expertly chose the Knicks.
Could you imagine this guy throwing out the first pitch at a Yankee game? He's got no arm, he's got no brain, he's got no taste. Where's your favorite slice, buddy? Name your favorite slice in New York City. He could.
Wait, what? This is like the strong suit of Zoran. He unironically addressed all of Zoran's strongest elements. Like the fact that he is more of a real New Yorker than Andrew Cuomo is transparent. It is a part of the core identity of his campaign. Andrew Cuomo, if left to address any of these questions, would wither away. He has answered all of these questions, by the way. It's so funny that Jesse Waters is just like chirping about he just gave up on like the he's Mohammedan elements. Okay. He just gave up on that and instantly hit the he's actually not a real New Yorker, which is funny because these are literally some of his strongest qualities that have made many other New Yorkers who might have been racist towards him, given his Muslim background, have decided, nah, he's a real New Yorker, just like us.